All right. Hey, everyone. Hopefully all y'all can hear me here. We're about to start our webinar, creating and animating a scene in iClone. So we're now using the new software Zoom. So hopefully you guys are getting familiar with this Zoom software here. What we're going to be doing here is I'm just basically going to be doing a live demo for the entire time. No real PowerPoint or anything to get to speak of here. We're going to be sending out a survey as we always do at the end of the webinar, and you guys hopefully can fill out that survey for us. And as a big spanking reward, you get a 10% discount for the content store if we receive that filled out survey form for you. So, any suggestions for future webinars, feel free to put that in there. Any comments, questions, or feedback you want to give us, you're more than welcome to put that in there as well. Yeah, okay, so I think that about covers it. We are recording this webinar, so if you have if I go through anything too quickly for you there, you can always, we're going to be sending out a video link for you so you can review it on your own time. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time because we have a lot of stuff to go through. Basically, I'm going to be creating a scene almost from scratch. We'll be taking bits and parts of our scene from other areas. And we're going to be spending about 5 minutes, 10 minutes doing that. Not too long because I want to focus more on the animation aspect and the camera work and all that fun stuff. All right, so we also have a Q&A session at the end, so any questions, comments, feel free to put that in the Q&A panel there, and I'll be answering those for the last 10, 15 minutes of the webinar. And there's a chat window. There's not really any links to speak of in this chat window or in this webinar. If there are any links that I want to send out to all you guys, excuse me, I'll put those in the chat window for you, okay? All right, so I think let's just get started here. So I'm going to give you a brief preview of the scene that we're dealing with here. Let me just close something else down here. And we are streaming this live on Facebook as well. Apparently, this is the first time we've streamed it live on Facebook. So hopefully that's working out. I can't really tell myself right now, but all right. So we have this this beauty on the screen right now, and this is the scene that we're going to be dealing with. I'm going to zoom out, and if you want this scene, you can feel free to email me. My email is kai@reallusion.com. That's KAI@reallusion.com. And what I'm going to be doing is I can send you this scene. Now, the characters are dressed in certain things that may cause watermarks for you. So you can load the scene, but you may see some watermarks for yourself. So this scene, it's a basic scene. It's going to be two people sitting down and having a conversation. We're going to be talking about some animation and camera work a little bit later on. But first, before we get to anything else, I want to start off with how to create a scene, basically showing you the basics of how to create props, or not create props, rather, steal props, I guess, from other projects or other scenes that are embedded with iClone. You guys may recognize this scene here if you've been using iClone for a while. This is a scene from iClone 6, I believe, called the lounge scene. So yes, some of you may be able to recognize this one here. But yeah, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and switch. We have some lighting set up here, which I'm going to talk about at the very end. The lighting is the last thing we're going to cover. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and switch this auxiliary light on. Okay, so there's a little thing up here called auxiliary light. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And you'll see our scene gets all ugly and white and blank and everything like that. But the auxiliary light is basically used when you're just focusing on the scene creation and the animation. Okay, when you want to beautify and adjust the textures and the lighting and everything like that later on, you can deal with, you can turn off the auxiliary light. But for now, for the purposes of this part of the webinar, we're going to be just using the auxiliary light. Okay, so hopefully it's not too hard on the eyes there. So here, I'm just going to give you a brief overall view of the scene here. All right, so this is the lounge. And again, oops, let me just zoom in here so we're not behind that wall there. All right, a little bar in the back there and everything. Embedded with iClone 6, but if you want it, I can just feel free to just email me and I'll send it to you. Okay, so this is the scene we're going to be dealing with, and we have a couple that are having a conversation with audio clips that I've already preset up and everything like that. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to go ahead and steal a couple of items. I've set the scene up right now, so we're going to steal a couple of items from another scene. Another project rather that's embedded with iClone 7. I'll show you how you can steal stuff from that. All right. All right. So let's go over to our content tab into projects up here and to template. And I'm just going to switch over to my standard workspace. I like to have two columns of stuff here. You can go up to Window, Workspace, and set your own standard workspace if you want. We'll cover that if you have any questions later. But we're going to go into the GI folder. GI standing in for Global Illumination. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and load in this loft scene. I don't believe I need to save this scene. Maybe I might have just kind of screwed myself there, but we'll recreate the entire scene from scratch anyways. Okay, so we're going to be loading in this loft scene, and I'm just going to be taking a couple things from this loft scene and saving them as custom props. More specifically, the lights, which I tend to favor in this loft scene, as well as a couple pictures. And we're going to replace that ugly looking picture on the back wall there. Hopefully this doesn't take ages to load. There we go. Okay, now we're talking. All right, so this is your loft scene. You want to switch to the preview camera. We're just going to steal a couple things from this loft scene here. More specifically, let's just go ahead and click on something here. Now, if you have trouble clicking on things in your scene, just use the Q hotkey. Press the Q hotkey, or you can use this select tool up here. And then when you click on something, it'll just select that thing automatically. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to group all of these pictures here, all these images together, because I don't want to export them one by one as separate props. Okay, there's actually 3 of them. These ones are all grouped together. So what I'm going to do is a simple attach. Okay, I'm going to do an attach function here. So I'm going to hold Control and click on these 2. And then what I'm going to do is go over here and select Attach. I'm going to pick Parent and just pick this bad boy over here, Frame A. Now if I select this Frame A over here and I press the W hotkey, everything is going to move as one. And according to iClone, this is all a single prop. Okay. Now we can talk about pivot points as well if you want later, but it's not really super important in this webinar. So we'll get to that maybe later if you have any questions. But all I want to do to save this is just go over to my props here, my set tab rather, and into my custom folder. And I'm going to go into props here. And if you want, you can create a separate folder. Just right click somewhere in here and you can select new folder. I'll just call it webinar demo. Okay, for the purposes of this webinar here. And I'll go into the webinar demo there. And I'm just going to go ahead and press this plus key, right? And we'll just call it, it'll show the whole scene. So generally what you want to do is zoom in on the prop that you're saving before you do this, but we'll call it photos or paintings, whatever they are. All right. And we're going to be importing that into our scene. I'm going to do the same thing for this set of lights up here as well. So let's go a little bit further up here. Again, pressing the Q hotkey and select this entire row of lights here. And you can see we can move it around like this if we want. Okay. And it comes included. If we go into our scene manager here and go down here, you can see the spotlight comes included with a whole bunch of actual spotlights in it. And we'll talk about the lighting a little bit later on as well, like I mentioned. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and save this as a prop. And we'll call it, nope, we need to make sure that we don't have that selected. So click anywhere in the gray area here in your scene manager, or in your content manager rather, and press the plus key, and we'll call it lights. All right. And another thing I want to do is just take one of these pendant lights that's kind of just hanging over our scene like this. We can take the silver one or the black one. Let's go for the black one here. Whoops. This one right here. Okay, just a light kind of hanging over our scene. Again, press the Q hotkey. You can see it selects all of them. Okay, if I go into my scene manager here, you can see pendant lamp A. And if I twirl down, we have spotlight, spotlight, and spotlight. Okay, so basically all these lights are together. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and save those all of them together. Content tab and plus. We'll call these pendants. Okay, good enough for me. So that's how easy it is to just kind of take stuff from any scene and save it into your props, custom props folders, whatever. Not really a whole lot of complicated stuff there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring those into our scene. Okay, so I'm going to go back into that other project that I have saved under projects here. That's all the stuff we're going to kind of steal from this project here. Go to my custom tab, and I already have it in my custom folder here. So I'm just going to load up that scene setup. Okay, And then we're going to bring in those lights and animate them, or not animate them. And then we're going to animate our characters momentarily. All right, so this loads up in just a minute here. This scene is not as large. Okay, so back to our auxiliary lights here. Oops. And we're just going to place those kind of on the rear wall there. Okay. Now these characters come from Character Creator, and I'll show you a little bit later on if we have time where you can find those. So let's go to our props and custom prop folder here again in the same folder structure, and we can just bring in our lights. So let's go ahead and bring in the paintings first. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click the paintings. And if you double click anything from the scene manager, or from the content manager rather, it'll add to the middle of your scene. If you can't find it by any means or for any reason, you can press the F key and you can focus on it. Now, sometimes when you press the F key, you may not be able to see it right away, but you can just kind of rotate your camera, and then you can see I have all my paintings right there. And if you want to, you can go ahead and press 0 out. And when you press 0 out, it'll reset it back to the scene root. And you can press F, and you can see they are at the scene root, which is kind of behind this wall, where beside our characters. The scene root is where you'll see this little green, red, and blue axis. That's your scene root, which is basically the middle of your scene. If you press Control A, you can toggle that on and off. This little area right here, you can press Control A and toggle that on and off if you want, if you find it distracting. So what we're going to do is we're just going to place these pictures on that wall in the back there. So to do that, I'm going to press the W hotkey. If you don't have this gizmo pop up, by the way, you can press Control Q to toggle that gizmo on and off. That's Control Q. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees using the E hotkey. And you can see when I move it along here, our Z axis there, not 180 degrees, rather 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm just going to enter 90 there. Maybe not. Maybe we have to do 270. That's weird. Okay, 270. Let's try that one. There we go. Okay, that wasn't 90. Either way, we'll just go ahead and place these on the wall. Now, what you can do is if you want to have a quick shortcut here, there's a number of different ways you can place things with a shortcut. The first thing I'm going to do is you can actually just use this align tool over here. I often use this Control L, align to. And let's just maybe align it to this picture on the Y, Z, and X axis. And you can see it just places right down there. Okay, maybe go to the center. And I think maybe it chose the wall. That's okay, we'll just press OK. And just bring it a little bit forward like this, okay? Bring it forward however you want, just like that. Good enough for me. Okay, so now we just kind of replace the artwork. We have to update the artwork on our wall there. So we'll just select this one here and give her a good delete. All right, now we have this cool, more modern type of artwork on the wall back there. And if you want, you can scale it larger by pressing the R hotkey and scale things up on the all axes. Okay, make those pictures a little bit larger. You replace them over here. Make sure they're right behind our sofa there so we can kind of see them in the shot. Okay, good. So let's bring in those lights then. The lights, I'm just going to basically click and drag these lights in because I don't want to spend too much time on this. Right here, we'll place them right there. And you can see those rotating at a different angle as well. And we'll press the E hotkey, rotate them. And this one, is this one going to be okay? -90. Same thing as 270, I guess. Okay, and we'll place these kind of somewhere, up here. And if we take off our auxiliary lights, you can see that those lights that are part of our lights, the actual lights themselves, imported in as well. So if you attach a light to a prop, you'll notice that it actually imports in as well. So let's go to our scene manager here. And you can see all those spotlights imported in as part of our prop. Okay, so just something really important to keep in mind there. Let's kind of bring them a little bit more forward over here. And we can always rotate those lights as well, those individual lights. or we can also bring our paintings a little bit further down. It seems like they're a little bit high there. All right, looking fancy. Okay, now temporarily I have this pendant light here, and I'll talk about this pendant light in a moment, but let's go ahead and we'll talk about the lighting stuff at the very end here. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to get into the animation aspect, okay? Because I want to save a lot of time for any questions you guys might have here. So I already have my characters animated. I don't have the cameras set up yet because we're going to go through the camera work as we move along here, okay? So what I have here, oops, let's make that little thing invisible. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I have two characters, and you should be able to hear the system audio now that we have upgraded to Zoom here. Zoom actually streams the system audio, so that should be okay. Let's just go ahead and give us a little playback. Okay, hopefully the volume on that was high enough. I'll probably just try and make my system volume higher in case you guys couldn't hear that enough. And okay, yeah, so we'll move on from there. Hopefully you guys can hear that. And we just had a little kind of conversation there, and just computer generated voices, which I often use for previs. Obviously I don't have a army of voice actors at my command, so I normally use this kind of previs stuff. All right. And let me just see here real quick. Let me make sure that we are, oh, let's share that system sound here. Okay, let me just try this again with the volume up a little bit higher. Let me know if you guys can hear this in the chat window.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked for?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. So where are they?
You will get your documents as soon as I get my money.
All right, great.
I see. Clever.
Sounds like people can hear it now. Good stuff. All right, so that's don't worry about that. We're going to kind of bring in the audio a little bit later, or bring in the script a little bit later. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how I created this from scratch. So now we're going to focus exclusively on the body animation. So I'm going to right-click both my characters and remove object animation. Okay, it's going to remove all of the animation, both body and facial animation. So we're going to start, say we imported in these characters. It doesn't matter where we imported them in. Let's say we just imported this guy in like somewhere over here. It doesn't matter what pose he has either. Okay, something like over here, and we'll place the girl like, somewhere over here. Oh, what happened to her clothes? Just undo that. There we go. Put her back in her clothes. Not sure why she went out of her clothes there. Anyways, maybe it's a little glitch. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to animate the female character to have her sit down. Okay, and now the way I animate this, there's a number of different ways you can animate a sit. I'm going to be kind of cheap here, use the easiest way, which is using one of the content packs, the Mix Moves content packs. So I'm going to go here to my animation tab and to my motion folder here, and we have Mix Moves for female and male. Okay, so Mix Moves for female is this folder right here, and what I'm going to do is let's go and just have her sit down, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and use this female idle to sit, okay? And if you're looking for the Mix Moves stuff, I'm just gonna go ahead and put a URL, Mix Moves iClone. Or you can just Google Mix Moves iClone probably. But the pack I'm using is this one here. I believe so. I'm gonna put this in the chat window really quick for you guys. A little comment from Donald there. All right. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to close down that. That's the URL for the Mix Move stuff in case you guys want to pick it up. All right, so I'm going to close this down, and let's have her just sit. Really simple, idle to sit. All right. Mix Moves is basically used for, there's a number of different combined animations as part of this pack. You can kind of, connect these all together. And if we have more time later on, I'll show you. But basically for this one, idle to sit, right? Very simple idle to sit. We'll play back, and our female character will just kind of sit like that. All right, good enough for me. And I think her positioning is okay. If we go to the side here and we just scrub through our timeline, make sure that nothing's really poking out there. Okay, I think we'll just leave her the way she is because it's very simple. All right. Now that's all she's going to do. The dude on the side here is going to walk into the scene. So let's just actually rotate this guy really quickly. And the reason I'm doing this, I'll show you why in just a moment here. Let's rotate him this way. And let's go to back to the motion folder and mixed moves male. And for this one, I'm going to use walk to sit. All right. So at the bottom there, so you can see there's like, sit to idle, idle to sit and whatnot. So they're flawlessly connected together, all these animations. But I'm just going to go ahead and use walk to sit. Right? This is a very useful one because you may not believe it, but it's actually pretty difficult to animate a walk to a sit manually. All right. So, all right. Like, hey, dude, you're walking the wrong way. So he's walking over here and sitting in nothing. Okay. So say you just added your character to the scene and you have this walk to sit. All right. And he's walking the wrong direction. So what you can do is you can actually make sure he's facing the right direction. Because we want him to walk from here to here, let's just press the W hotkey to move him over around here. I think this is where he's going to start. And then even if we move him over here, he's still going to be walking this direction. Okay, so what we can do is we can like rotate him. If we use the E hotkey to rotate him this way, like that, what happens is, he's going to be walking backwards. So yeah, that doesn't work. So you can't really do it this way. What you need to do is right click and remove object animation one more time, and then just reapply that walk to sit. And then he will walk in the correct direction, okay? And kind of sit right in the middle of that glass table there. Not cool, dude. All right, so what we're gonna do is we need to just reposition his initial position, reposition his initial position. So bring this back over here. So if we press the G hotkey, we can get a direct overhead view. That's the G hotkey for our character. Man, the scene is white, hey? And we'll press the W hotkey to move him. Okay, so he ended up sitting somewhere around here, which is not good. So we're gonna move him a little bit closer to the sofa and a little bit further back, just a tad bit. And then let's see, make sure to do this all at frame 1, by the way, okay? Okay, now it doesn't matter where his butt is being put right now. It just matters that he's not, sitting in the middle of the table. And I think we'll need to put him a little bit further back on the x-axis there. Okay. All right, that'll work. We want his left leg to kind of be almost at the edge of the sofa. So maybe a tiny bit further back. Okay, now that we're done that, let's go to this view over here and zoom in so we can actually see him. Oops. Okay, so obviously we don't want him to rotate that much. Now, if you have an issue like a situation where your character, stupid camera's in the way, stupid poles are in the way there. If he's moving like this, let's pay attention to his feet, where his feet are. So as he's moving, you can see he's planting his right foot. And he's kind of rotating on his right foot. But you can see he's rotating too far, okay? So we want to basically stop his rotation at basically this point, okay? And we don't want him to finish that rotation to that direction right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press F3 and go into my character's timeline. I'm going to bring my timeline a little bit up here. Okay, now I always recommend having this object-related track selected, because if you have that selected and you select anything in your scene, it'll automatically bring it up in the timeline, which is super useful. So you don't have to go hunting for it through this, little area here or on your tracks. You can see there's so much stuff here. So it's always easiest just to have the object-related track selected, okay? And we want to make sure his transform track is open, okay? And find our playhead, which is right here, okay? So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click in the transform track and add a keyframe there. Because transform dictates rotation and position, okay, for characters. Now, if I go over here where he's finished his rotation and about to sit down, this is where I want to change that. So at this point here, what I'm going to do is we're going to rotate, use the E hotkey, and rotate his butt this way. All right. And you'll see that his leg is still kind of in the wrong position there. What's going to happen is, let's go ahead and from here to here, he's going to sit down. His knees will go through the table right there. Okay, so that's not something we want. But at this position, we're okay. We're okay up until here when his knees start going through the table. Actually, what I might even want to do is just take this and bring him a little bit further in. Use the W hotkey, just like that. It's not going to make much of a difference. You won't be able to see much sliding or anything like that. Okay, good. But this point here is where we want to adjust his position as well. Now, what I often do in this kind of situation when we have a pivot foot, I like to call it, a pivot foot, which is the right foot in this case, I like to just bring in a prop. Okay, go to my set tab up here and go to props. And I'm just going to bring in a sphere. Whoops, that's custom props, template props. And I like to just bring in a basic shape, like a 3D block. The sphere is the one of my choice. You can choose a box or whatever you want. I just bring in a ball, okay, or a sphere. And I'm just going to scale it down using the R hotkey. Scale it down to like that position there. And I like to make it about as big as the heel of the foot, okay, where the rotation normally takes place. And just kind of place it right there. Now you can see we're doing this at frame 102. So what you want to do is you want to right click on that ball and select remove object animation because you don't want it to be animating, okay? Very important part of this procedure. Okay, so it's always going to be in that position. And that's where his right foot basically should be staying for the entire time. Okay, we can, you know, a little bit of leeway to move it back and forth. But you can see at this point here, he's sliding, which is obviously what we don't want. And, you know, we have to make sure that at this point here, his right foot is staying at that position. So we're just going to basically move him right here. There's another way to do this that gets into more like aligning your motion to a character's right leg or left leg. And we can talk about that later if you guys want. But when he's finished sitting, okay, right here, we're going to make sure as well that the foot is always in the same position. Okay, so just like this. Okay, so right there, not really moving far from that position. And there you go. Okay, so it's a really rough version of that. You can always tweak it a little bit later on as well. But generally, that's normally good enough. Okay, so you can just go ahead and press space, and there you go. Looks good. Looks like he's sitting fine. Unless you're really focusing your camera on his feet, you know, you're not going to be worried too much about that. You know, you can always use strategic camera placement to adjust the position or to cover up, you know, cheap animation, I guess you can say, or quick animation. All right. So what I'm going to do is I can just delete that ball, or I can keep it there if I want for later use. Just make it invisible like that. Go to my scene manager there, and we'll close that down. Okay, so we've animated both our characters successfully sitting down. That took a few minutes, but yeah, basically we're done with the body animation for now. We're going to talk a little bit about direct puppet in just a moment here. So let's play back. So we have female sitting down. So now they're both basically sitting down, you know, simultaneously, ready for the conversation. All right, good. So the next item of business here is to, and again, your workflow may be different, but this is the way I normally do it. I do the body animation and I just throw in some camera or some facial animation, sorry. Okay, so the first line here is, he says something about, do you have the papers? So basically they're meeting, the scene is they're meeting at this abandoned restaurant and, or, you know, he's reserved the restaurant for just them or something. And they have some, you know, nefarious dealings going on with some mystery documents. Okay. And so let's go ahead and maybe he starts the conversation because he's in a rush. He'll start the conversation maybe about here before he begins to sit down. Now, another thing I want to do here as well is I want to have him look at, looking at each other for most of the time. Okay. So with our character selected, we're going to go over here to attributes, and down here, there's an option for look at. So what I'm going to do at the beginning is pick target, and I'm going to pick the female's face. Now, obviously, he's not going to be looking at her the entire time. He's walking by, looks, maybe it's kind of creepy. So what you can do is just at the beginning, set free. And that's going to add a keyframe, the look at keyframe. Okay, and that's important. I'll show you why in just a moment. So maybe about here is when he begins to look at her, like maybe as he's approaching the table. So then we'll go ahead and pick target, and we'll pick the female, pick her head. So from here to here, he's transitioning from moving forward to looking at her as he approaches the sofa. Okay, so you want to make it seem a bit more natural. And you can refine that by going into your timeline F3, and you can select your character and go into constraints, the constraint track here. And you can see this keyframe here, if we go further into constraints, there's a look at constraint, okay? And there's a blend from here, from this keyframe here to that keyframe there. Okay, and from here to here, he's constrained to looking at her. He can't take his eyes off her from here, from this point onwards, okay? But from here to here, he's kind of maybe gaining interest and transitioning, okay? Important stuff to know. And for her, basically, we'll have her looking at him the entire time. So let's go ahead and select her and pick target and pick his head, right? So she's kind of gradually, casually watching him have a seat. And I think that looks pretty natural, okay? But back to the facial animation, we're gonna have him start his conversation as he basically starts to look at her, like right here, okay? So we're gonna go over to the motion tab, or the, motion tab, and create script, okay? This is gonna be the first script, audio file, and I have it all laid out here, just a dialogue, okay? So number one, I'm gonna place that, and go ahead and play back.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked for?
Okay, so he says, so were you able to get the documents I asked for? Of course, it sounds a little bit robotic because it's, again, my previous voices that I generate. And the female will reply, just to make it quick. I'm just gonna place the audio files one after the other. Okay, create script, audio file, and 2. And then play.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and then right after that. Again, you can refine these later on with emotions and stuff involved, but I just basically throw them in really quickly, back and forth. 3.
Excellent. So where are they?
Okay, pause, and then make sure you select the right character. Okay, sometimes I forget to switch characters, and one character will say 2 lines. So create script, audio file, or
You will get your documents as soon as I get my money.
all right, and then he's gonna reply, clever girl. Create script, audio file, clever girl. Okay.
I see. Clever girl.
Okay, so that's basically all the lip syncing we're gonna do. Now, if we have time, we can probably refine the lip syncing. I think we might have time to refine the lip syncing a little bit later on. But what I'm gonna focus on first is the cameras now, okay? And the reason I do this before the emotion on the character's face is because, you know, different emotions will look different from different camera angles, I guess you can say. So personally, I like to set the cameras up for my scene before I do the actual detailed facial animation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and create a camera. Okay, this is the easiest way to create a camera. Create camera, all right? And then our camera will switch to camera up here, okay? So the first camera, I'm just going to have kind of an establishing shot, okay? So we'll just double click in here in the scene manager. We'll call this establish. It's always good to name your cameras so you can, just keep track of your scene, all right? Pretty simple and straightforward. Now with the camera, since the focus of the scene is going to be this, like, you know, this sofa area here, I'm just going to click in the middle of that sofa area and kind of bring it over here, and kind of place it like maybe we'll have it a little bit further up and back like this. And as our characters are moving to sit down,
So, wait.
so right here, after he says so, we're just gonna have a little quick like zoom in like this, and you know, have a almost like a Wes Anderson style 90-degree view to our scene like this. Okay, something like that. Since the kind of the mood of this scene is to kind of have them in opposition to each other, so we'll kind of have them equally on opposite ends of the screen there. Okay, so that's going to be our established shot. Okay, and I can scroll to my mouse. I can press F3 actually, go into the timeline, and I can just select my camera from here. Let's minimize all those props, and just select establish camera. Okay, another way you can do that is if I selected the table, for example, or the character or whatever, and I press the U hotkey, it'll switch back and forth between my character and my camera and the attributes over here. So if I press U, it'll switch back to the character. you, switch back to the camera. And same thing in the timeline, okay? So you, right? Really important because I always use this myself to switch between, when you move your camera, you want to focus on something, right? So you click on that object you want to focus on, in this case, the table, and then you move your camera, but then in the timeline, you want to get back to your camera. So instead of going up here to, minimize the props and like select the camera, you can just press the U hotkey, okay? A little quick tip there for you. Let's press the U hotkey again. There we go, okay. And open up our transform track. Okay, so establish camera, you can hold the Alt key and scroll your mouse button out to zoom out, by the way, holding Alt and scrolling the mouse button. So here's our established shot, okay, just like this. Okay, and basically, as he begins his first line, I want the camera to focus on him. After the so, then there's a pause, and then were you able to get the documents? That's when I want the camera to focus on his face. So at this point right here, as this camera finishes moving, we're going to create another camera. We're going to create camera, all right? And this camera is going to be focused on his face, okay? So I'm going to select my character. You can press the J hotkey to focus on your character's face. Okay, the J hotkey, a really useful tip there. Okay, and we're going to call this camera, we'll call it gangster. Oops, gangster face. I don't know, whatever. It's supposed to be an over-the-shoulder shot from the female to focus on the gangster here. So an over-the-shoulder shot is, I'll show you in just a moment here. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to change the lens length of our camera. Okay, now take a look at what happens if I change this from 20 millimeters. You notice that it really spreads out the scene, okay, and it really stretches it out so it seems like he's further away. Whereas if I change this to 200 millimeters, everything seems a lot closer. Now, generally, when you're having a conversation between two people, you want to have a fairly high focal length, okay, like maybe 105 in this case, because what I want to do is, where's our female here? Maybe let's switch it to 20 first. Okay, so here, okay, so she's not seated yet. So what I'm going to do is wait till she's seated, okay, right here, as she's finished being seated, okay. And then we're going to switch our camera to whatever it was. Again, U hotkey and 105 millimeter. And now you can see we can place the camera over her shoulder, something like this, and focusing on our gangster, okay? And we want to have normally an angle like this, okay? And, different camera textbooks or whatever techniques will show you different ways, but I like to have maybe a 45-degree angle almost like this. Okay, so when we're having a conversation between the two, this is the position of our camera. So again, press the U hotkey, switch to our gangster face camera, and twirl that down, or open the transform track rather. And I'm just going to basically take this keyframe right here and bring it all the way to the beginning, because this camera is going to be in the same position for the entire time. Not sure why it's moving. Oh, it's over here. Sorry. This is the position we want. This one right here. Okay. Okay, so this camera is going to be in the same position the entire time. All right, so we have that camera established, and what we can do is we can add like a depth of field to this camera as well. All right, so if we want, we can use something like depth of field over here. Make sure we have that same camera activated, and select activate. And right now it's not focused on anything. We need to pick our target and pick our dude's face, right? So he'll be in focus, and the rest of the scene will be kind of out of focus, all right? Really kind of useful quick tip. You can change the near blur strength. If you want to blur out the female's face a lot more, you can see you can blur out her face a lot more, or you can blur it out a little bit less, okay? I like to have it fairly high myself, maybe 75% of the way, okay? Something like this. And then again, as always, because this camera is not going to be moving or any transitions, just take that keyframe and move it all the way back to frame 1, okay? So that's camera 1 established. And we'll talk about the switching the cameras a little bit later on, but I got a little bit limited for time here. So let's go ahead and set the next camera. So now we're going to create a camera, and we're going to call this beauty Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time thinking about a name. Okay, I think of one off the top of my head now. Okay, so now this camera basically just adopts the same attributes as the previous one. So we can just deactivate the depth of field for now. We can change it back to like 35 millimeter or something. And I'm going to select the female. I believe she's standard 0 with a 0 in parentheses. Yep, she is. Okay, press the F hotkey. And we're going to place this camera right over here. You know what, actually? Yeah, we'll place it right over here. Okay, so I kind of wanted to get more of those pictures in the background, but I'll tell you why I can't do that in just a moment. So place it right here. Okay, and then we'll change back to press the U hotkey. Change to 105, I think is what we use for the other one. Okay, so make sure you keep the lens length consistent. It's important. Select the female, just kind of bring it back. Okay, so something like this. Yeah, I'll probably just move those lights instead of moving the cameras around again. It doesn't really matter. Okay, something like this will be fine, I think. Let's zoom in a tiny bit more. There we go. Okay, so generally the characters are going to be staying in the same position. So we'll just go ahead and work with this. U hotkey again to switch to my camera. You can see how that U hotkey comes in really handy. And depth of field. Pick target, activate. All right, and keep that near blur strength to whatever it was, okay, previously. All right, and then take all those keyframes and smack dab in the very beginning, okay? The dope sheet is the top track for your entire thing. And when I moved that one keyframe, it moved the transform position and the frame and all the other stuff that I changed, okay? So you can move all that stuff at once in this top little track right here. All right, so we've got our camera set, our 3 camera set. Let's really quickly go ahead and switch those cameras. Okay, we still haven't added the lighting or anything like that yet. So back to frame 1, we're gonna go to change to switch, okay? Up here, switch. And then what we need to do is go into our switcher track. Under project, there's a switcher track. And basically all you gotta do is just right click in that track and under camera list, just choose whatever camera you want. So obviously first one is our established camera, okay? So we'll just zoom out a little bit here and play back.
So, were you able?
Okay, so at this point here, maybe frame 200 or so, as it's focusing on him. Or you know what?
Able to get the doctor? Were you able?
Okay, so maybe as he's halfway through his sentence, we'll kind of we'll give her more time to sit down. But we'll switch the camera to him. Okay, so at this point here, right click. Again, your timing might be different. What are you doing here? Camera list and gangster face. There we go. Okay, weird.
Were you able to get the documents I asked?
Okay, so as she's sitting down,
able to get the document.
Let's maybe bring it a little bit further up.
Are you able to get the documents I asked for?
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
And then as she starts her speech right here, then we're just going to go ahead, right click and camera list and switch to beautiful. All right.
Up for.
Yes.
I did.
Excellent.
I did.
So, okay. Sorry, I'm kind of scrubbing through here, trying to listen to for myself here. So let's play it back.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked for?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then as he says, excellent. Okay, right click in there, camera list, gangster face. Okay. Press space.
Excellent. So where are they?
And then she says, you'll get your documents when I get my money. So right click there, camera list, and beautiful.
You will get your documents as soon as I get my money.
And then we're over here. When he says, I see. So basically just back and forth. Okay, camera list and gangster face.
I see. Clever girl.
And don't worry about the hair flipping and stuff like that. That's just the physics. And we can disable physics if we want by going up here to disable soft cloth simulation. And then if we play back, her hair won't be like that, flipping all over the place all the time.
Clever.
Okay. But yeah, since we're done that, we'll just keep it on for now. Or no, we have facial animation, so we'll keep it off. Okay, so here is our final scene set up for cameras.
So
let's actually just close this timeline down now, the bigger view of it.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked for?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. So where are they?
You will get your documents as soon as I get my money.
I see. Clever girl.
Okay, now I noticed that maybe the guy, his first line I may have put on the girl. I got maybe kind of mixed that up. Let's select our dude and, oops, character here. For some reason, object related track got deselected there. Okay, maybe go back to the very beginning. Yeah, he's not.
So.
Okay, so maybe she's saying that part. So let's go ahead here and let's repeat that one more time really quick. Make sure we select the dude. And there we go. Okay, motion, create scripts, audio file, line 1. Okay, and she, yeah, I put it on her accidentally. Whoops, my bad. Okay, delete. Okay, for her. Okay, so basically what I did is I just assigned the line to the wrong person. Okay, so we're going to focus now on facial animation. Okay, so let's go ahead and play back.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked for?
So what I'm going to do here for the first part, since it's just kind of an initial meeting, he's not going to have too much expression at this point. So what you can do is just add a little subtle expression here. And what I'm going to use is the facial key tool for this one. Okay, I'm not going to use facial puppet. I'm going to use facial key. So what I'm going to do is just use the facial key tool over here. And this is normally used for keyframing facial features, the animation. So from here, at this point here is when we get a close glimpse at his face, okay? We don't have to worry about the face before that. What I'm going to do is just press default key and press F3 and go into my timeline. And let's make sure that we have the constraints closed down. We don't need that. We're going to close down the motion as well. And let's just go ahead and select the expression, okay? And you'll notice in the expression, basically we created this one little clip here. And you can see it has keyframes for the muscles, all the muscles of the face. So this is just a default key right here. So let's go ahead and play back. Oops. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is maybe as he's, in the middle of his sentence, we're going to give him a slight expression. Now I like to cheat and use these default expressions myself. You can go ahead and use expression right here. Maybe he's angry, disgusted, afraid, or surprised, or something like that. Let's go ahead and we'll go with angry. Okay, double click that, and you can see that angry expression there. All right, if we change this to this angry, you can see that changes a little bit. I'm not sure why it's not changing. Do we have the right character selected? I believe we do. Okay, weird. All right. Oh, we have her selected. Gosh darn it. You can see we have the yellow blocks around her. I'm like, why isn't it selecting? Okay, so we'll just delete all those. We need to select the right character. I get confused over this stuff too. Let's select our dude. All right, and he's going to have some expression on his face. So this point here, default key again. Sorry, guys. Muscle default key. There we go. And maybe right here, as he has more of a neutral expression, we'll go to expression, change that to angry. There you go. All right, now you can see the difference. Like, what the heck? All right. So, some of these are a little extreme, like maybe like this one. He looks like a pirate or something. Or obviously you don't want, generally if you're doing talking, lip syncing, you don't want the mouth to be open. So I tend to use something like this. And you can tone down the expressiveness as well. Okay, something like this. Okay, so he has a very kind of stern look, maybe like this. You can see from here, he'll transition from this to a stern kind of look like that. And then you can also further enhance that if you want by, just selecting that clip. And by the way, if you press Shift Tab and Tab, you can kind of toggle between the separate keyframes. okay, on your character. Let's go ahead and go to muscle, and I'm just going to maybe just raise the eyebrow slightly. Okay, like that. We'll just raise his left eyebrow, and it just basically adds all that data into the same keyframe right there. All right, and then what you can do right here is at this point, you can just go ahead and go to expression and do the same angry like that, and there'll be a transition where his eyebrow will go down. And you can see the transition area, you can adjust that just like a motion clip. I don't go into too much detail on this, guys, but that's just one method that I use to animate the face. Okay? We may have to have a separate facial animation tutorial or webinar in the future to get through all this stuff in time. All right.
The documents I asked for.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so for her, we're just going to go ahead and use some really quick. There's her angry facial animation. Oh gosh, screwed that one up. Okay, we'll just go ahead and make sure that she doesn't have that expression. She's like, "Arr, yes, I did." All right. For some reason, my delete keys aren't working.
The documents I asked for.
Okay, so now we're going to use facial puppet animation because I want to focus a little bit on the lighting at the end here. We only have about 5 or 10 minutes left. So we're going to go to facial puppet over here like I just did and choose Jade profile. And she's going to be maybe a little bit, we could say she's scared or we could say she's happy, depending on how confident she is with this negotiation. Now, what I'll do here is you can adjust the strength as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and preview by just selecting that scared profile and pressing the space key. Okay, so maybe she's like, we'll raise her eyebrows like this, so she's like a little bit scared, okay? And all I'm gonna do is just go ahead and press record and then press space. And I'll just do it live as she's, talking. So let's go ahead and press space.
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
Okay, and then stop it. And, for this guy, what we can do at this point is we can select him. Again, make sure the correct character is selected before you do this. Face key. We'll just change him to like, we'll just go ahead and use a default key again. Okay. And make sure he's in the right. Now we're over here. So there's our default key right there. Okay. And then after we have that, we'll use the expression or the facial puppet. And we'll use something from Zane. Maybe this angry. Or no, we'll use the happy because he's like, excellent, you got my money or documents or whatever. Okay, so something like this, right? Looks like an evil, nefarious kind of grin. And we'll go ahead and record that.
So where are they?
You will get your document.
All right, and that creates another clip in the expression track here. And you can blend these together if you want, okay? And you can reposition them. So maybe I want to reposition this one over here. Let's take this one, the neutral one, back over here. And maybe the smiley one we'll put a little bit further up here. And what I'm going to do is just, whoops. Okay, so right here, we want the neutral clip to be right here. That's the neutral one. Again, I pressed reset there, remember, our default key. And this is our facial animation for the smile, okay? Then we'll go ahead and just play this back. Oh, I may have frozen my computer. Oh, no, it's previewing, sorry. Okay, so close that down.
Excellent.
Play that back.
So where are they?
You will get your.
Okay, and if you want to tone down that expressiveness, what you can do is just select that clip. Now, these options over here, vising strength and expression strength, these are for the overall, so basically all of your character's clips, okay? If you change the expression down like this, you'll notice that it won't only be for this clip, but it'll be for all the clips, okay? To tone down the expression strength or increase it, okay? So that's that one right there. You can also export the expression clip and everything like that as well, or flatten it, and you can overlap on top of that, which we can talk about in separate tutorials, but okay. That's that part.
Get your documents as soon as I get my money.
I see. Clever girl.
Okay, we're gonna kind of keep them neutral expressions because I wanna do one final thing for the body animation, And that's a really kind of quick and easy thing to do with your characters, just to kind of, because right now their bodies aren't moving at all. They're just kind of talking back and forth at each other. So what I like to do is I like to use the direct puppet tool, direction puppet it's called now, okay? This tool right here. And I'm going to show you how I use this. So let's go ahead and play back.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked for?
Yes,
Okay, so now she's still sitting.
I did.
Excellent.
Okay, so at this point, he's saying excellent, and he wants to lean in maybe and say something, or something important he has to say. So if I use direction puppet, what I can do is I can select the chest. I always do this. I select like the chest or the arms or something, and select primary rotation. And if I press space to preview,
So where are they?
You will get your
you can
documents
see I can
as
move
soon
my
as I
character
get
forward
my
and
money.
backward like this.
I see. Clever girl.
All right. So he's like, maybe
So
he's
where are
bowing or
they?
something like that.
You will get your documents.
Okay, so as he's saying, so where are they? I'm going to have him lean forward, okay? So let's go ahead and press record.
So where are they?
You will get your documents as soon as I get my
And then
money.
gradually bring him back to that point, okay? And it's just going to create a couple of keyframes there in the transform track. And then we'll switch over to her. We have to get it out of there first. Switch over to her. And what she's going to say is something like,
You'll get your doc.
so this is what she's talking about. And, we can use, if we don't want to use the direction puppet, because that's a body keyframe. Okay, so that's a keyframe on your body. If you want to use the head instead, you can use face puppet, and you can just totally erase all of these. Okay, so there's no expression. And just use something like this, head orientation, or head rotation, or head tilting, okay? And then if you preview, you're going to move your character's head like this, all right? If you only want to move the head, this is a better way to do it. But if you want to move like the chest and the body and everything together, then I'd recommend doing this. You can increase the strength, all right? You can do it like that, all right? So let's go ahead and give her like a kind of expression or head gesture, I guess. So record.
You will get your documents as soon as I get my money.
I see. Clever girl.
Okay, so let's keep it like that. And then at this point here, we can do the same thing for him. But okay, you kind of get the point there, all right? I just wanted to show you a brief preview of each one of these kind of tools that you can use. And we may have to have future webinars that go into more detail on each of them. But let's focus now in the next couple minutes here on beautifying our scene with lighting. All right, so really quickly, what I did in this scene, let's go back to our auxiliary, turn off our auxiliary light. Okay, we have our female character right there. And you can see we have the lighting on the back, beautiful lighting on the back. So what I did is I just added a pendant light. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this pendant light, a pendant lamp. And you can find that. So right now, the only lights we have in this scene, if we go down to lights, we only have one single spotlight. And that spotlight is right here. All right. And why do we have that spotlight? I don't know. We can just delete it, actually. Not sure where that came from. All right. But right now, we only have IBL in our scene. So let's go to our visual tab first. And over here, under atmosphere, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom and just activate IBL. And you can load an IBL here. This one comes with default with iClone, the Sunset 2. Okay, so just load this up. And what you want to do as well is make sure, if you want that IBL to be your background, like in this case it is, okay, you can see the beautiful sunset in the background there. Very romantic setting, actually. What you can do is you can just sync the sky, orientation, and image. If you deselect the image, basically I already did that, but you can go ahead and change the sky. For example, go to the content manager, go to props here, or rather sky, and just load in whatever sky you want. Maybe it's a clear day outside. Oh, okay. Doesn't really seem as nefarious or dark. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead back to visual and sync our sky image, right? Back to the sunset here and orientation as well. And if you want to change the position, let's just blur it a little bit too as well, maybe like a level of 2. And if you want to change the rotation of it, you can use the Shift-I hotkey or rotate IBL, and you can move it around like this. Now, if I move it around like this, you can see that notice the position. If you notice, there's some subtle lighting. For example, right now, the sun is on the right side of our character, female character's face. If we move it around, notice it gradually starts to move to the front of her face, okay, right over here. And gradually, as we move the sun back into view, it should move on to the left side of her face. So right here, all right? And we can adjust that, the level of strength for that IBL as well, just like this. So right now, if we take a look at our characters, you can see there's a very, very subtle light on there, on the side there for the female face and the front of the guy's face. You can increase the strength of that like this. Okay, but obviously we don't want that to be too strong. I like to have a very subtle IBL effect myself. Maybe something like 70 will do, okay? So in this case, we have, you know, some image-based lighting, just subtle enough that we can kind of see it on our characters' faces. A slight bit longer. I just don't want the rest of the scene to look purple there. All right, we'll work with that. Okay, so it's a very subtle IBL. And you can add HDR and all that stuff as well, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you where to find that pendant light quick, and then we'll get into the Q&A session. So set tab up here under props, you'll find a HIJKL light tool right here, okay? So these come from iClone 6, and they're pretty useful still, okay? But there's your pendant lamp right there. And I'm not gonna bring in the other one just because we're kind of limited for time here, but just bring in your pendant lamp right here. You can drag it wherever you want and press the W hotkey to bring it up onto our scene like that. Okay, now the cool thing about this pendant lamp light tool is it has this little thing over here that we don't need to worry about. This is just a little script. So with iClone 7, what I do is always just delete this one. Okay, just close it down, you don't need that. And we'll just bring the light up to you know, relatively decent level, something like this, okay? And make sure it's positioned over that table. There we go, okay? Now, an important thing to adjust here is you need to go into your pendant lamp in the scene manager over here, and you can see it actually consists of a point light and a spotlight. Now, I'm gonna delete the point light because I like lots of shadows, and point lights don't cast shadows. However, spotlights do. So I'm gonna select this spotlight, make it visible so we can see which direction it's facing. Okay, it looks like it's facing directly down. And we're gonna increase that multiplier to maybe like a value of 1.5. Okay, you can see it brightens up our scene a little bit. We can maybe tone that down to maybe 1.2, okay? And we wanna increase the darkness of our shadows, and we can increase the range or the angle of the spotlight beam if we want, have it focused only on the table. But I want it to be kind of encompassing both of the sofas here. All right, so let's keep that there, and we'll go ahead and make that invisible. Now, what we can do, I mean, we only have basically one light in this entire scene, aside from those spotlights at the far end there. But what we can do here is if we go to, say, for example, a position like this, you can see it's really dark on our character's face, obviously much too dark. So what we can do is we can actually, what was I gonna do? Oh yeah, global illumination, okay? So you can enable global illumination, and when you do that, it may or may not you know, light up the scene a lot, depending on how much light you have. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off, because what I can do to, what I like to do to save resources myself, because global illumination takes up a lot of system resources, depending on how much light you have in your scene, you can actually simulate global illumination. So I'm kind of old school. Let's just simulate it really quickly. I think we may have chosen the wrong camera. Hopefully we didn't mess up our cameras there. Make sure our preview camera here. And I'm going to create a light, a spotlight right here, and just position that directly up, okay, facing directly upwards, 180 degrees on the x-axis right there. And we're going to give that a very similar hue to the previous light, or to the pendant light, an orange one like this, and just kind of place it right in the middle of our two talking dudes, our characters. Okay, let's press the G hotkey again, get a direct overhead view, and place it right over here. Okay, so this is kind of like we're simulating the reflection of light off the table, which global illumination is what it normally does, but I'm a cheapskate when it comes to system resources, especially on my little laptop here. I'm just going to place that light right up about there. Make sure it's above the table, and then you can go ahead and change that angle. So the angle, I'll have You can see as I increase that to 150, it starts to light up their faces like that. Okay. Now we have the characters' faces lit up. We'll change that multiplier to like, 1.5. Okay. It's a little bit more light on their faces. Increase or decrease the range. Okay. In this case, we want it to be really high range, and increase those shadows, the darkness of the shadows, and right click, remove object animation from our light there. Okay. Since we don't want that to be moving, and make it invisible. So now if we go to switch, this was our establishing shot, I believe. Okay. Nope. Okay, so we need to press F3. I think this is which camera did we switch over here? Gangster face, I think, is the one we messed up. Let's go ahead and just delete this keyframe. It should return it back to normal. Okay, good. All right, so now you can see we have that light kind of shining on his face. Now, I tend to like very dark kind of scenes like this myself personally. To each their own, but this is the end result right there. So we got that sunset in the background, and there you go. So I like those strong shadows and strong contrast on the characters' faces like this. All right, so let's go ahead and just play it back real quick. I can press, let's go over here to view, or window rather, and workspace. You can go to like full screen. You can also press Control-7, okay? Go to full screen, you can play back.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked for?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. So where are they?
You will get your documents as soon as I get my money.
I see. Clever girl.
Okay, so not bad for whipping up that in like 45 minutes. Let's press Control-2 to get back to our standard view here. And that's it. We're going to move to the Q&A session. Sorry I went a bit over time there, guys. But yeah, Q&A is where it's at right now. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to the Q&A. And apologies for going a little bit over time there, but we got all the time in the world for Q&A. All right. Frank F. asks, is there a way to temporarily set unselected objects as hidden and then toggle them back? Good question, Frank. I guess I kind of answered that with the invisible toggle right here. So if I wanted my this dude, gangster, to be invisible, we can make him invisible, just like that. If you don't want him to be able to be selected, you can use the lock key, okay? So if you want them invisible and you don't want them to be selected, if you're selecting stuff in your scene, use this lock function as well. You can lock or unlock stuff, all right? Just a reminder, guys, I'm gonna answer questions in the Q&A panel, not the chat window, okay? So put your questions in the Q&A window. The chat window is just for links and stuff. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question there, Frank. Okay, and next one. George says, make the view bigger. Okay, so I guess, George, you kind of figured that out, the zoom. Yeah, there's a tiny little zoom feature there. Okay. Josh mentions here, is there a way to set up lip sync without sound? Yeah, definitely you can set up the lip sync without sound. Depends on if you want it temporary or permanent. Temporary is what most people want. You can go down here to your voice volume. Okay, this button right here on the bottom of the timeline, that's voice volume. You can turn that down or turn that up. And there's also music volume down here as well. That's normally the way that I do it if I find that my talking is getting in the way of what I'm trying to do or something like that. All right, so hopefully that answers your question there, Josh. Hi to Greg, who said hi to me. Hi, Greg. Okay, so Don's gonna take a look at the video later. Thanks, Don, for attending. Hopefully you learned a lot. Easy question so far. All right, so Greg asks, how do you edit dialogue? Depending on what kind of dialogue, if you have like audio files like I have, you're gonna have to edit the audio files in a separate program. I use Audacity myself. It's free. Highly recommend Audacity. If anyone doesn't have it, it's like basically the go-to editing tool. I'll just put the link for you in the chat window here. I've been using this since college. It's an amazing program. Oops, just put the URL here in the chat window. Okay, Audacity, if any of you guys don't have that, it's really awesome. Question from Anthony in the chat window here. Will the scene be available for back engineering or reverse engineering? Not really. I mean, you can do that yourself. I don't have a version of the scene that's basic. Well, the one I started off this webinar with has no camera animation. It does have the character animation, but it doesn't have the lighting set up, I don't believe. Oh, wait, no, it does. Never mind. Just the camera stuff is missing. But Greg, yeah, Audacity, and I showed you a little bit about how to change the positioning of your character's expressions. Let's press F3 and go into our timeline here. Just as a quick overview here, there's an expression track which contains all of your expressions, like your character's facial expressions. And then there's the visine track here that contains all of your character's audio. Okay, so these clips here, these are the audio clips, okay? And if you go down here into the audio clips, you'll find the wavelength right here, and then you'll find the keyframes for the lips. And that's a whole nother can of worms that I don't want to open right now, but that's the brief overview of it. So expressions, all the facial animations are in expression, and all the visine stuff, audio for lip syncing and stuff is in this track right here, okay? And lots of stuff you can do there as well. All right, hopefully that answers your question there, Greg. All right, so yeah, I kind of whipped through that in 45 minutes, but maybe some of you may take a bit longer, like Sam mentions 45 hours. If you do a good job, yeah, it should take you 45 hours, but I kind of did this like a whack-up job here, just for demo purposes, really. Sam asks, can this be exported to UE4? Definitely, we can export the entire scene to Unreal Engine 4. All the animation and everything can also be exported to Unreal Engine 4. The only thing is with the soft cloth physics and all that stuff, you need to export those via Alembic format. But iClone can, or 3D Exchange rather, can also export Alembic format for any of the physics stuff. Yeah, hope that answers your question. We have some tutorials on that. You can just Google or go to our channel. I think it's like the last, maybe 2 tutorials ago. I did a 2 tutorial series on exporting iClone assets into Unreal Engine. So you can check out our YouTube channel for that. Answered Anthony's question there. Yeah, so hopefully that's enough for you there, Sam. Let me just try and quickly find those videos for you there. Like 1, 2, Unreal. Move that chat window over there. There's a bunch of them that I did like 2 years ago or something, but then I just did these ones recently. So this is part 1. I'm putting in the chat window right now. The video for part 1 and the video for part 2. I'm putting those 2 URLs in the chat window there. Those are for the iClone to Unreal, including animation and the scene export and everything like that. All right, hopefully that answers that little question. Okay, so Donald asks, can you see or adjust keyframes from the preset motion? I think what you're asking is, can you customize the preset motions? Yeah, you certainly can. If for some reason, for example, I wanted my my character to, there's all kinds of ways you can modify the motions. You can modify the motion clips. You can modify them with keyframes. What I did is keyframe animation. Now, Donald, there's so much stuff I can talk about, but you can definitely fully customize any animation that you see in iClone. And there's a ton of ways you can do that. I can't really get into it at this point, though. So you can also email me, kai@reallusion.com. That's kai@reallusion.com if you have further questions about that. Okay, so Greg asks, was there a sound editor within iClone in the past? Very rudimentary, very basic sound editor. I mean, you can fade music in and out. That's about all you can do, and you can adjust the motion clips. Like, say for example, I wanted to. So this part here, I'll give you a quick example. So I'm going to just.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked for?
So we're able to get the documents asked for. So maybe we wanted a more dramatic pause after the so. Okay, what we can do is we can right-click that clip and break it in two. Now it's two clips. We can move it over here. So now his so is the pause is even longer.
So, were you able to get the documents I asked
Yes,
for?
I did.
And then of course, she comes in too early. She's too impatient. All right, so you'd probably just
For.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Anyways,
Excellent.
that's how you would maybe just do sound editing for the dialogue, I guess. Copying and breaking the clips, right click and on the clip and select break. Okay. We can probably have more webinars on that in the future. If you guys want, have a webinar exclusively on facial animation. That might be fun. But yeah, just let us know with the feedback form that we send you. So Tony asks, how many channels are there for sound? How many characters can be heard at once? Well, basically unlimited, because Tony, because you can actually apply sound to any prop in your scene. So I can apply, you can see over here in my scene manager, I have dirt, floor, ceiling. I can apply sound to all those as well if I want. There is a soundtrack under each prop, a soundtrack, and you can really right-click in that and just import any sound you want at that frame. All right, so unlimited sounds. You can have a whole jungle, whole cacophony. Is that how you pronounce that word? Of sound. Anyways, all right. Hopefully that answers that question for you, Tony. Pavel asks, with a guy walking to the position, can't you start with the last position and work back to the starting one? Yeah, you could do that too as well, I guess. Yeah, you can probably do that as well. Wait a second, why wouldn't that work? My brain's kind of out of it right now. Let me think. So if you did that, oh, okay, yeah, because basically the first frame that you apply the animation to, the first frame will be a keyframe. Okay, so it'll add a keyframe there. So to answer your question more accurately, no, you shouldn't do that, because the first frame is going to be a keyframe, and then if you move the last frame anywhere, it's basically just going to be stretching out or condensing that animation. So you'll see this when you do like a character run, for example. If your character runs from point A to point B, if you stretch out that distance that they're running, what's going to happen is it's going to look like they're running in place, or it's going to look like they're covering too much ground with each step. So that's not something you can do, because the animations are preset to cover a certain distance at a certain speed, and you have to get that as accurately as possible. Hopefully that answers that question there for you, Pavel. Okay, good. Answered Greg's question. Okay, answered that question. Just whipping through all these questions here. Can the text-to-speech be edited if you have a mistake? That's a question from Tony. Yes, you can. I kind of just showed you how you can edit it by breaking the clips. Other than that, you'd probably have to just go and delete the clip and redo it. It doesn't take too long, to be honest with you. Yeah, as Anthony mentions, maybe we can have a separate advanced lip syncing expression tutorial. I think that's a good idea, because I think to do really detailed facial animation, like the facial animation I did in this project is amateur at best. I didn't really go into much detail on how to do it. So if you want to know more about that, I'd be more than happy to create a advanced lip syncing webinar for you guys. All right, because it is important stuff, especially when you have close-ups on characters. Okay, so Alvin mentions here, could you have put constraints on his feet to stop him from sliding before he sat down? I've never used the constraint function for feet. I've used the constraint function for hands, like if I have my character grasping onto a sword or something like that. But generally, I mean, it could work. I've never done it personally, so I can't really answer you out of experience here. But for feet, another thing you can do is you can often align your character's animation to a certain foot. Like for example, what I might do, I'll get into this really quick because it's not too simple, but it should be pretty quick. If I have my character and he's standing down, so what I could do is at this point here, I could go into my character's motions here, where that motion is, the walk to sit. And what I might do here is I might right click on that and I might break that clip. And at the very first frame of the second clip, so just select it right there, what I might do is I can right click on that. Oh, there we go. And I would go align whole clip to the right leg, okay? So this may work, it may not. If I go ahead and do that. Okay, so you can see his right leg will stay in position right there. And there you go, okay? So it moved a little bit because of my transform position, but if I did that, align to the right leg, that's often what I do for pivoting situations like this. But I just kind of showed you a kind of a basic way to do it with a alignment prop and transform position. But because this aligned to right leg or aligned to whatever, sometimes it doesn't work that accurately. But in this case, maybe it would have worked better. I just didn't try it. All right, so you can give that a shot on your own time there. Okay, so Donald asks, is that scene putting much load on your system? Not really, but I'm actually streaming Facebook Live right now as well from my computer, and it's the Chrome. It seems to be lagging stuff down a little bit. So ideally, in the next webinar, we'll have someone else streaming that from their computer. But for me, I'm just trying to save system resources as much as possible. And I find that the thing that eats up the most system resources tends to be global illumination. Actually, I want to kind of see what this looks like with global illumination. So you can see this scene right here with global illumination. It's a little bit more lit up. Another interesting thing that I come across as well, you'll often find with global illumination on your character's eyes, you may have like kind of like shiny devil's eyes like this, okay? Maybe the reflection is too much. In this case, it looks okay. I think the female I already adjusted, but the male, if you come into like this kind of situation right here with the eyes, let's go to preview here. I'm just gonna press the J hotkey. Notice that his eye, the left eye, is a little bit too reflective. I may have done it for one eye and not the other. I kind of forget, but you can go to materials here and use your picker tool and select your character's eye. It selects the cornea. Yeah, so I deleted the reflection maps, which I normally do. I don't tend to like those that much. And there's an eye as well. You need to delete both the reflection maps. But the cornea one, I believe, is the outer layer. And I think I may have put reflection on this. Yeah, so I put reflection on this one eye here. You can take that reflection down. In this case, it doesn't really matter because what's happening here is I'll show you. We have this alpha threshold here for the eye. And you can see the difference right there. And may just be the lighting from the background there reflecting on his eye there. But this alpha threshold, if you take it down like this, I think the default is something like this. So if you have global illumination, you may have your character have, their eyes may have a result like this. So I tend to take that opacity, the alpha threshold under GI settings all the way to max, just to avoid that situation. And in this case, his left eye maybe still a little bit too reflective or not. You can just take off that reflection. You can see it doesn't really matter. It's just a natural reflection on that eye, I guess. And maybe adjust the specular glossiness there. Yeah, that works, okay. So I'd probably take that specular down and the glossiness or whatever, you know. All right, whatever. Just a little aside there that I kind of encountered while I was working on this project. Kind of got off on a tangent there. Sorry about that. Anthony, how easy is it to import poser characters into the scene? Or is it better to use DAZ Studio for non-iClone characters? Poser characters is just as easy. You can import any character really from any software you want into iClone. Now the functionality of those characters is going to be vary depending on what type of character it is. But honestly, we have Character Creator. I recommend using Character Creator. It's only going to get better. and I think it's already pretty good for character creation for your needs. So yeah, I mean, but obviously, if you have a whole library of Daz characters or something that you want to bring in, yeah, definitely go ahead and do that. We have tutorials. We're actually launching a tutorial probably next week on importing Daz Genesis 8 characters into iClone, and also animating their faces as well. I believe that's going to be out next week. I'm working on that currently, actually. So yeah, should be published next week though. And it is fairly easy to import the characters. So Pavel kind of clarifies here, I meant to put unchanged motion to the last frame and edit later. I'm not sure what that, maybe you just email me later, Pavel, kai@reillusion.com, and I can get into more detail go into more detail on that with you. Right? I'm mixing up my words here. All right, Sabine asks, is there any chance you can go to the webinar? The sound on Zoom sounds like a flanger or something. All right, so yeah, so apologies if the audio is not peak quality. It may have to do with, I don't even know. This is only the second time we've used it, but we're trying to work out any kinks that we have. Yeah, apologies if the audio is a little bit flangy, as Sabine put it there. Yeah, we're working on trying to get that a little bit better. I believe from my side, there's not much we can do, but we'll see in the future. Anyways, all right, Anthony, thanks for the compliment there. And yeah, I think we're pretty much gone through all the questions there. So yeah, we're gonna just end off the webinar, guys. Thanks so much for attending, and I hope to see you in future webinars. Any suggestions you may have, or feel free to put those in the survey we're gonna send out. Again, you get 10% off from the content store if you return that survey to us. And yeah, I think that's about it. Email me for any further questions, or you can email or check out our forums at forum.reillusion.com. And that one, those guys, there's a lot of people there with a lot of time, a lot of free time. They can just answer your questions probably faster than I can anyways, but and they have a lot, maybe more combined experience as well. Yeah, so I'll throw my email in the chat window there as well, kai@reillusion.com. Oops, there we go. And yeah, so I guess I will bid you guys adieu. I'm off to watch some playoff hockey, and you guys should all watch that too. Anyways, okay, we're gonna just end off the meeting now, and thanks again for attending, guys. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you next time.